Hey, so we're going to talk about behavior. That's a pretty big one, and it's something we're going to come into contact with every day, all day, and in many different forms and many different ways, especially with the age ranges we have here at AHA. Pretty much, your job is to be able to guide students towards positive behavior. That's going to look different in all classrooms because we don't all have the same age of children, and we don't all have the same guidelines to follow within our classroom. A toddler classroom is going to look much different than a pre-K classroom. Think about a 4 and 5-year-old that we're trying to prepare for kindergarten. We're going to expect that they can sit on the carpet or that they can sit at their seats so that they can work for an extended amount of time. Whereas in a toddler room, they're going to be running around, they're going to be playing, they're going to be learning those basics of, hey, when it's time to eat, we all go sit down at the table together. So, again, the expectations are different in every classroom. So, when you travel, if you do by chance travel from classroom to classroom, always remember that your expectations for those pre K kids can't be the same for the toddler ones as well. But let's just continue on from there. We at AHA want to make sure that all students can have a positive relationship with their teachers as much as possible. If children feel that they're being belittled or insulted, then they're going to have a negative thought or a negative relationship with someone who's supposed to be a caregiver for them. And so we want to try the best that we can, even though we know there's times of frustration, that we need to try the best that we can to have a very positive environment, but also a very structured environment, a very consistent environment, and an environment that just has the safety of all kids at the foremost of our brain. So we need to think about some reasons for misbehavior before we really try and to guide that child, just because they might be having a bad day, just like we do. Sometimes we have a bad day and we don't want to talk to anybody. We want to be just tired and cranky. Well, they're kids and they don't know how to always handle their emotions. So sometimes they're just having a bad day. Other times they just don't want to listen to you over and over and over and over and over again. And we need to get to the root of that and really form that relationship with them, that they understand you're the teacher, they're the student, and their role and their job is to listen to you because you only have their best interests at heart. Sometimes children just want to test caregivers and test to see if they're going to enforce the rules. This is where being consistent comes into play. There needs to be a consistent expectation within the classroom on all behaviors. Of course, as the little ones grow up, you might become more strict, I guess you could say, on your expectations because they're growing up, they're getting older. So they're going to be able to handle more of that. But at the beginning of your year, set up a consistent expectation for them so that they know what's right and what is wrong in your eyes. Also, if they do something that you deem not right, guide them in a way that is consistent throughout the entire year. So don't have them sit out at recess because of an action and then the next day the same action happens and they just can continue doing it. You need to set a very consistent behavior plan within your classroom so they know what's expected of them on a daily basis. They experience different sets of expectations between school and home. So, what at home might deem acceptable, sometimes here it isn't, just because we're in an atmosphere with multiple children in a classroom. So, they can't just run around and act crazy because someone might get hurt. Where at home, they might be the only child and that's what they know. So, we also have to understand that and be sensitive to that in creating the environment in our classroom. We need to let them know, you need to be safe, you need to watch for your friends, and show them how school and home are different environments. Sometimes children don't understand the rules and they're held to expectations that might not be developmentally appropriate. So always have that as a thought as you're kind of creating that management system within your classroom. Think about the age of your children and what's acceptable for them to be able to handle. If they feel bored, hungry, sleepy, sometimes that might even affect them too. You never know. Like I said, we all have bad days. They might just be cranky and having a bad day too. Sometimes we do have to give them a little bit of grace. They're 1, they're 2, they're 3, they're 4, they're 5. Okay, so just make sure that before you get frustrated, just if it was your child or put yourself in their shoes, they might just be having a bad day. Sometimes, and it's not always true, but sometimes children are rewarded for their misbehavior by getting adult attention. So if a child's consistently doing something and you're showing them this attention and it seems like they're kind of craving that attention, maybe give them attention in a different way. So if they're doing something really positive, call them out on it. I love the way that you're sitting on the carpet. Look at the way that Johnny's sitting on the carpet, guys. Isn't he doing such a great job? Instead of if he's over in the corner throwing blocks and knocking people's towers down, don't call him out in the middle of the classroom. Maybe go over to him and talk about how we can redirect that behavior instead of giving him that attention where all students' eyes are on him and he thinks, oh, look at everybody's looking at me. So now ways that we can prevent some of those misbehaviors: always set clear and consistent rules. Make sure that your environment is safe. Show interest in the children's activities. Encourage some self-control. Focus on the desired behavior rather than the one to be avoided. And this is really easy to do. So, for example, in our pre-K room, sometimes I'll go in there and we'll do read alouds and stuff. And if they're having a fidgety time, a time where they don't want to sit still and don't want to listen, I'll look for that student who is doing the right thing. And I'll say, oh, look at Becky's sitting there and is ready for kindergarten. Look at how she's sitting, friends. She has her legs crisscrossed, her hands are in her lap, her eyes are watching, her ears are listening. And as you start to talk about and be positive about the one behavior, you'll start to see the students who might be acting crazy on the carpet check themselves and say, oh, I maybe should be sitting the way she is. Look at the attention that she's getting. So that's just one way that you can encourage that positive behavior without calling out a negative one. Make sure that you're paying attention when they're doing the right things, again, because that just shows that you are showing attention to those who are being positive, not attention to those who are being negative. And as an adult, set a good example. So if you expect the kids to sit and listen quietly while their friends are sharing for show and tell, then you do the same as the teacher, and you sit and listen quietly for those who are doing show and tell. I know that in many of our classrooms, there's different systems that are set in place. So I know in pre-K, they use a card system. So as the kids are getting older and they're going to be headed off to school soon, there needs to be some sort of independence and accountability. And with our older kids, using systems like a clip chart or a card flipping system allows them to understand, okay, I had this misbehavior. Now I have to go flip my card or whatever it might be. And at the end of the day, my parents are going to see in my folder that I had to flip a card for a negative choice. And in them being able to flip their card also means that hopefully they know exactly what they did that was wrong in that moment, because they were told in that moment, go flip your card. This was the behavior. This is what we need to be doing. And then it kind of sticks with them a little bit rather than just calling them out and then just moving on with their day. If you tell the parents they had a really rough day, then the child might not know what they did that was wrong. But the clip chart and the card system, whatever it might be, also works for positive. So instead of just flipping a card because something negative happened, kids can also flip their card and get a better color on whatever chart it might be and show their parents they made really great choices. They were showing good behavior all day. They help their friends, whatever it might be in your classroom that you praise and allow them to flip their card for. If you're finding that you're having a hard time with a student, if you're just not able to connect with them, if you let them have space and they're still not able to calm down, or if you let them go out of the room and maybe visit another classroom to calm down and get them away from the environment, they're still not calming down, or it's something that's happening consistently. The great thing about preschool is that we do have the ability to see the parents every day. Morning or afternoon, one of their teachers is going to be able to see a parent. So instead of letting a behavior go on for too long, you're able to kind of talk to that parent right away and say, look, this behavior is happening consistently in our classroom. It's something that we can't allow to continue happening, and we're having a really hard time connecting with them. Is there something that you do at home? Is there something that you can tell us and shed a little light on so that we know why maybe they might be acting out in this way? Just keeping that communication open with parents, because essentially, we're with them a lot of the day, but the parents know their kids. So if they can tell us something to help with that situation, then that's a great resource as well. Don't be scared to talk to parents. I mean, at the beginning of the year, definitely set that expectation that you're going to allow the parents to see what their kids are doing. We're not just going to say, oh, they're doing great, it's okay, when really they're not listening to you all day. So we want to set that very transparent practice in the beginning so that the parents know you have the best interest of the child at heart, and all you want is a safe classroom for all of your friends. And then hopefully in that way they'll be very open to anything that you might have to say to them, knowing that you just care for their kids and want them to grow and learn in a safe way. There are consequences for behavior, but things like yelling at the kids or getting in their face and being ugly with them, it's not going to set up a positive environment for them, and they might not trust you as much as their caregiver if you're acting in that way. So different things like just a redirection. If you notice that they're doing a behavior that you've taught over and over again, just say, hey, maybe you have forgotten, but we really need to try and do it this way. We can't be acting in this way, but do it quietly. Don't yell across the room. Go over to the child, get on their level and talk to them and let them know a way that they can redirect that behavior. Logical consequences. So, I mean, if we're outside playing and they're throwing mulch at their friends and you've told them repeatedly, we don't do that, have them sit out for a few minutes. Take away that playtime for a few minutes because they need to sit and think about their behavior. And hopefully they'll think about it a little bit better next time when they realize I might lose out on that playtime. But they are also 2, 3, 1 even. And we do have to realize that they're just learning and growing. And so sometimes they are needed a little grace as well. Um, a, of course, things like a take a break chair or a quiet spot or a calm down area, something where you can take them away from the environment they were in or the action they were in and make them go to a separate space and kind of sit and calm down and cool out and just chill and be away from the other students sometimes helps as well. But if you're finding that you're having a really difficult time with that behavior and that child, then you have resources. Everybody's here to help all kids, where they're all our children. So if you're having a hard time and you need a break, then send them to one of us here up front or a different classroom and give yourself a break and that child a break, and then come get them, and maybe just that little bit of time away might help. All right, thanks guys.